Some insane new data has just come out for the southeastern US snowstorm. The high res models are now in the RFS model, and this is painting a really interesting picture and it's kind of gone off the rails in some areas. So let's get right into it. I'm going to go this hour by hour. This is Friday night at 11 p.m. You can see that low pressure system down there sitting off Texas. So right around Friday night into midnight or so is really when this thing is going to ramp up from North Texas into Oklahoma. And pay attention to the intensity of these valleys, especially in Oklahoma. You can see freezing rain and sleet right there out ahead of it, and it's pretty strong there around then. As we go towards around a Saturday morning, around just in the wee hours, 3 a.m. or so, it does change to snow a little bit in north of the interstate there in Oklahoma, and even some light snow in Kansas and Missouri and parts of Arkansas. To the south, you get thunderstorms in Texas and some freezing rain that could actually interact with those thunderstorms and create thunder snow and sleet, which we'll go over in a second. But these thunderstorms here, if they these high-res models will pick up these thunderstorms better than the global models. What does that mean? Well, it will pick up thunder sleet and thunder snow more than the other models. Well, that can rapidly enhance totals to 1 to 3 inch per hour amounts. The high res or the global scale models will typically underdo those. They'll do good at getting the axis and location right. They'll not do as well at the localized higher amounts. So while most people won't get those thunder snow, thunder sleets, the people that do might end up with as many as 3 to 6 inches on top of what the normal forecast amounts are. As we get towards Saturday at 13Z, which is around 7 a.m. or so, 6 a.m., this is when it's going to be the most potent freezing rain-wise, snow, and sleet-wise. This is going to be for folks in South Oklahoma, South Missouri, Northern Arkansas, and parts of northeastern Texas, the Arklatex region. The rain's going to be coming down at almost like an inch an hour, and the snow is going to be coming down at 1 to 3 inches per hour as well. Excuse me, the rain will be coming down a little bit less than that, more like a quarter inch or so. The snow will be coming down at 1 to 3 inches per hour, and you could see some flashes of lightning. As we get towards Saturday night, this model actually breaks this piece of energy up. The other models indicated this, but this is a little bit more extreme. Thunderstorms out ahead of it, a bit of a freezing rain threat for parts of Tennessee and north of that, Kentucky, Ohio, Midwest, light to moderate snow. But watch this energy out here. This is going to be very interesting as it moves to the west. As we get towards Saturday night, this is around Saturday night at 10 p.m., this first wave is going to kind of sit and stall and eventually kind of cruddle out. North Carolina, particularly the west half, is going to get several rounds of freezing rain. It might just sit there for a couple, 24 hours or so, depending on how warm that air gets just to the east. This next wave out here, this thing is going to be in two different systems. This next wave is actually the main wave. This was the warm-up wave. This is the main one. This is going to eject out around Sunday morning, Saturday night, around midnight or so. And you're going to get another round of freezing rain in northern Texas and southern Oklahoma and snow in pretty much the same exact area. As we get towards Sunday at around about 3 a.m. or so, this thing starts to fill in. What's happening is there's a low-level system off the coast of Baja and then one upper level low up in the northern portions of the U.S. What happens in the jet stream is those things merge, and essentially this whole system turns into one massive cyclone, as you can see here. So what happens is this freezing rain is still ongoing out in North Carolina. Freezing rain re-picks back up in the Arklatex region with snow in pretty much the same area and snow to the north. You'll notice this model is actually a little bit further north than the GFS, and it's about the same as the Euro, maybe a tad north. So far, I think this has the best handle on the track of this thing. The amounts might be a bit overdone, but the track overall is pretty good. Thunderstorms in the southeastern United States. And as we get towards, let's go Sunday morning around 6 a.m., the low really starts to strengthen. A couple of days ago, this low was not really there. It was just flat. So what that's just going to do is going to bring up a big warm nose, as I mentioned on my previous video, and that's going to take out the freezing rain threat for much of Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia. It's going to be early on, and then that warm nose is going to shut off the show for that area. And then behind it, you'll have enough cold air behind this system where you might have some freezing rain pick back up in Tennessee Sunday morning. North of that line is that snow shield. That's just going to be a really long, consistent band of moderate snow. And that high pressure system to the north is cooling things down for that. As we go towards Sunday, this is around noon here. You can see what I'm talking about. That warm nose creeps into this thing. So you might have ice up in Kentucky and Tennessee early on in this event, but then it's going to flip to snow. Kind of the opposite of how storms normally are, in the west half of the United States. But you're kind of used to it in the east half with these types of events. And you can see ice is still going on out here in parts of North Carolina, up in those mountains areas. You might be having ice for 24 hours out there, and the totals are just absolutely off the wall, which we'll go over in a second. As this low strengthens, that's when the snow shields are really going to get going up in the Midwest and northeastern United States. It's also going to lower the freezing rain amount because there's going to be more of a wrapping effect, and this high pressure system is going to interact with that, cooling things a little bit down a little bit more, and so the snow threat will be much higher in the northeastern United States than it was previously. This is Sunday night. This is, again, a little bit farther out. This is Sunday night at 7 p.m. You can see that freezing rain still going in the Carolinas, and just north of that line, some sleet, and north of there into the northeastern United States, a really heavy shield of snow, and then that continues to move out Monday morning. This is what I'm talking about, the lightning flash density. This is something you aren't going to see on the other models that you're going to see on this model because it's a high-res convective model. This is Saturday at around 6 a.m. or so. This is indicating lightning potential, which indicates instability in the atmosphere. And this could be centered around East Oklahoma into West Arkansas, maybe even the Arklatex region. That instability is going to interact with that freezing rain. And so anywhere you see this flashing, you could see locally higher amounts than what are currently being called for, maybe as much as 1 to 3 inches of snow plus locally more. And that 1 to 3 inch per hour rate from those thunderstorms will enhance those total. The problem is with thunderstorms, they're convective, so they're isolated. So you pretty much have to get score on those, right? It's not going to be a widespread swath. So if you get in on that, you might get a bonus 1, 2, 3 inches of snow onto the total amount. And you can see the freezing rain, sleet, and snow is centered right over that bullseye of lightning I talked about. So pretty rare, but this is a pretty strong storm system. Freezing rain, this is the GFS. We went over this in the previous model video. A nice swath out here in Texas and into Tennessee area, and especially the Carolinas, where as much as 1 to 3 inches of ice could fall, and that was the GFS, which is further south. But I'd mentioned that I think the Euro is a little bit more onto this, as is the REFS, which is the high res. And you can see it picks up in that warm nose that I've been talking about, that super phasing event. And so out ahead of it is your heaviest ice, where there's that first wave, and it really doesn't get impacted by the second one as much. And then behind it as well, you get 2 waves without that warm nose. That's where your heaviest ice is going to be. So if you are in northern Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, especially down into the Mississippi, Western Tennessee, Arkansas region, the bullseye at the moment is this region right here. You could see as much as 1 to 3 inches of ice. Pretty darn good chance at 1 to 2 inches, maybe even 3. Texas, there's a little bit more uncertainty with that sleet mixing in, but maybe up to an inch or so of ice into northern Texas. As we get towards the Middle Tennessee Valley, Western Tennessee, up into parts of Kentucky, half an inch up to 2 inches per ice, with a bullseye in western Tennessee, maybe as much as 3 inches of ice. This area has been very consistent, and it could be a tick further south where the ice storm warnings are currently. This is a little bit farther north, but that warm nose really could shut things off. Okay, so for South Tennessee, it really depends on this warm nose. This currently is the most uncertain area. The other areas have a lot of consistency. It's that North Alabama, South Tennessee, North Georgia area that has the most inconsistency because of that strong warm nose, but the trend has been north within this region in particular. Usually just north of those warm noses, it'll quickly transition to sleet, snow. Freezing rain might not be as prolonged up there because of that, maybe a 1/4 inch or so in Kentucky to a 1/2 inch. And then that second wave that I was talking about in parts of the western Carolinas and the Virginia, you could also be dealing with a pretty significant ice event, a 1/2 inch to as much as 1.5 inches of ice out there. Some of the models are actually going up even more than that, but 1 inch plus is definitely a good bet out there. And it really tapers off because of the wrapping that I talked about. It starts to really, that high pressure system kicks in. The snow shield really kicks in as it gets into the northeastern United States. Speaking of snow, this is the ECMWF, the European. We already went over this in the previous video, but there's your snow axis. That's the thing you really want to pay attention to, is the middle part of that line. And any, 50 miles of in that direction, you have a pretty good bet at seeing it, at least the 6 to 8 inch band at this point as the consistency's there. But like I said, some areas in there could see, with that thunder smoke, especially in Oklahoma, could see a few inches more than that. This is the REFS model now. So these are the big time changes here in Oklahoma. That's picking up on that thunder snow that I was talking about. And so let's zoom in, but you can see the whole thing is further north. It's following the European, which has been a lot more consistent. Look at this, though. There are some reports here of snowfall totals of 20-some inches. Do I think that's going to happen? Very unlikely. However, what it is indicating is it's indicating that thunderstorm, thunder snow potential. So, the GFS and the Euro probably have, it look like about 10 to 12 inches in that area, with 6 to 8 inches very likely in eastern Oklahoma. With how this looks and with these mesoscale models, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a couple of 12-inch, 14-inch type reports in there from that thunder snow, and maybe even more than that. But that sleet is really going to mix in and cut off a lot of those amounts. So I think the REFS is a little bit overdone in that area. This area out here, you're talking as much as all the way out into Columbus, Ohio, Ohio, Indiana, southern Illinois, maybe as much as 6 to 8 inches. The issue here is that warm nose that I'm talking about, that's going to cut snow totals off just to the south of that. And so Kentucky and Tennessee, really tricky forecast down there. But again, 3 to 6 inches or so down there with the REFS model. Again, the Euro's a little bit further south, and you could see a little bit more like 4 to 8 inches or so with that one. Some of the amounts in here might be a little bit underdone. There could be some isolated higher amounts, 10 inches, maybe a 12-inch here and there as well. South of that line, that ice is going to really cut things off. As you go to the northeastern United States, big time totals revamp as that storm begins to wrap and bring in that cold, high-pressure air to the north, mostly a snow threat up there, and a little bit more prolonged. 8 to 12 inches in the northeastern United States, totally possible. And you can see maximum amounts, maybe even a little bit more than that. Most models, again, have it in that 8 to 12-inch range. So if you're in New York, Pennsylvania, you definitely want to watch this one. The trend has definitely been up for that area in terms of snowfall. Right now, there's winter storms all over the place. Winter storm warnings, watches, ice storm watches, warnings. And you can see that ice storm warning is a little bit further south than the RFS. And so it's somewhere in between the RFS and Euro. So the RFS, like I said, I think is just a little bit to the north. The Euro is just slightly south. It's probably going to end up pretty much in that area, maybe just a tick to the south, but the REFS track-wise, I think, is pretty good. And you can see that reflected on the watches. Extreme cold to the north. So we'll be making more updates on this, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Just had to crank this out. Pretty crazy data coming out live here. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon.